Linda Doering is a sexual risk avoidance specialist who has provided medically accurate peer-reviewed research based on sexual risk avoidance, sex education presentations on HIV, AIDS, STDs, healthy relationships, anti-bullying, and substance abuse prevention in 10 countries since 1993. Linda Doering has been educating New Jersey students, parents, drug court clients, at-risk and vulnerable youth, as well as teaching medical and mental health professionals since 1997. Until 2022, she was the education director for the Institute for Relationship Intelligence. The Institute for Relationship Intelligence's programs have been used in over 70 countries worldwide and translated into 12 languages since 1989. Welcome to the show, Linda.
Well, thank you, Anastasia. Glad to be here.
So let's start with the beginning and asking this question. What is sexual risk avoidance specialist and what does that mean?
Well, basically, we started as an HIV and AIDS awareness program, and I went over to the former Soviet Union in '93, and we were teaching about the consequences of people having multiple partners. You know, I'm a product of the '60s, and if it feels good, do it. So we were. And then when people had this mysterious disease, originally called GRIDS, then we had AIDS, and then we found out it was caused by HIV. And people who were in monogamous relationships, they were married or practiced monogamy, had no issues with any of the STDs, but this was going rampant. And so a program called Ascend in Washington, D.C. Started our program, and we'd get certified to be not just relationship specialist, but you know, how to have healthy, lasting relationships, not just with your significant other, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, but even with coworkers, with people in general. You know, we put so many boxes, you know, I act this way and this way, this way, this way. No wonder people are stressed out. These principles are good anywhere, and they just help people to feel relaxed and who they are as a person, because basically they're treating people the way they want to be treated. We talk a lot about consequences, because unfortunately, whatever high-risk behaviors people are dealing with these days, a lot of it started in childhood, because the part of our brain that really thinks about consequences doesn't really kick in until 25 years old. So you can see a lot of our students are so stressed out with relationships and things because they don't know how to deal with it. People have been taught for quite some time, thank you, internet porn, about technique, how to make yourself feel good more than actually even your partner. But nobody would teach people how to have a lasting, loving relationship with people. So people are sexually conditioning their brain. I'm with this person, now my feelings change. I'm going to be with this person, now my feelings change. Then by the time you're in your early 20s and ready for a real relationship and maybe a commitment, you're all worn out. You know, you have trust issues and things. So sexual risk avoidance specialist is dealing with the whole person. We're dealing with the physical, emotional, mental health of people so that they can make their, because, you know, basically all of us have free will, no matter what country we live in, we have free will. And we want to help people when you don't have somebody to confer with. What are the decisions you're making? What is your goal? Well, everybody without exception wants to be happy. But if only you're worried about your own happiness and you're not thinking about the other, you're kind of stunting your own growth. So it's more this whole person. In areas where I've been teaching, they tell me, Miss Linda, we've been throwing condoms at the kids for 20 years. And we have pregnancies like crazy. The boys say, my pullout game is strong. You know, I don't need to worry about this. And it's a problem because nobody's looking at, will a condom protect your heart? And the boys would sadly shake their head no. So basically, that's what it is. I tell you, it's the most rewarding work in the world. So, you know, I always tell people in closing, you know, I'm almost 75 now. I'm not cool, but I'm very real. So buckle up.
I love it. I've also heard that you presented your curriculum, relationship intelligence, under a Title V grant by
Mm.
the New Jersey Department of Health to over 1,500 people, from sixth grade to 12th grade students, teachers,
Mhm.
parents, and college students each year in urban areas throughout the state of New Jersey,
Yeah.
Pennsylvania, and New York. What are your main concepts that they learn about sexual risk avoidance?
Well, basically, I know people usually think of sex as our genitals, you know, and like I'll just read briefly from our mission statement: through educational activities and media outreach, because kids need hands-on experiences through workshops, theater, written word, and we seek to help people value their own lives. How can you value other people if you don't value your own? Their health, their future goals, including productive work, marriage, parenthood, and family. Kids, mostly I spoke in the hood, they'd all have goals, but it was all work and career related, nothing about family, marriage, having a home. Through educational activities and media outreach, we seek to help people develop leadership skills that would allow them to avoid addictive and destructive behaviors that damage their achieving future goals. When I would teach kids, they'd say, "Oh, yo, Miss Linda, you don't understand. Marijuana relaxes me. It helps me to focus. It cures cancer. You can't get AIDS if you smoke pot." And I go, "We got to talk." I was teaching in a rehab center, for drug court clients, and this guy was telling me basically the same thing. And I says, "Okay, Jose, you're 38 years old now. You have 4 kids. Tell me, 3 things you've accomplished in your life." Well, he couldn't tell me one. And I says, "The reason you feel relaxed is because you're addicted to pot. Then you smoke it and you feel better." So that this clicks into their mind right away. I get very little argument, even though I encourage it. And also, we seek to help people develop positive relationship skills that will enhance their future career, marriage, and communities. When I go shopping, somebody's stocking the shelves, I go, "You are doing a great job. Thank you very much." I'll tell the supervisors, "I need to make a comment on your employees," right away. They go, "Oh my God, what's happening?" And I'll say, "Your employees are awesome." And they'll say, "Thank you so much. Nobody says this. Usually just people want to complain." And in my brain, it's win-win, because I'm feeling good because I made somebody else happy. So also the Institute for Relationship Intelligence, we call it a LoveSmarts program. Why be stuck with stupid, right? Be love smart. And we seek to empower parents and educators with the knowledge, awareness, and tools to take a proactive role in the lives of young people they care about. Not only that, teachers and parents become a product of the product. I would have substitute teachers stand up in the audience. I'd have auditoriums, right? And say, "Yo, Miss Lynn, I'm not going out tonight." You're a wise man. So it's so interesting. I started in the Soviet Union, and I would my audiences were 600 people. And I was just starting. I really didn't know what I had. I had no confidence because I didn't even like speaking one-on-one. And I used to think and they would treat me like a rock star. It was just amazing. And they had never seen somebody outside the Soviet Union. Again, this is 93. But in my head, I'm thinking, I could never teach this in American classes. They would laugh me out of town. Not having sex unless you're married or in a mutually faithful, committed relationship. And I found the opposite to be true. I
Wow.
found it was like water on desert sand. And the most common thing that my kids say is, "Yo, Miss Linda, when you coming back?" And if that's not precious, I don't know what is. And it's helped the teachers, because they said, we didn't know it. Just really quickly, one of the Russian sex educators, that's what she called herself, sex educator. She says, "Miss Linda, I want you to step into my office." I go, "Well, what I do now?" And this woman was very sensuous looking, gorgeous woman. A lot of Russians are. She said, "This is what I've been teaching the kids when they want to know about sex." And she opened this book, and it's all about sexual positions. She says, "I want to show you what I'm doing with this book now." And she threw it in the garbage.
Wow.
And she said, "I want your curriculum. This is what I want to teach our students, because they're drinking alcohol. They're messing around in vacant, abandoned buildings. They're running wild." So It's amazing work. Go ahead. What's the next?
So let's set the story straight, because I think there's probably a conception that our inner city youth are expected to be sexual at a young age. What have you found? What has been your experience?
What I love is I have immersed myself in research. I took college courses, about sexuality, psychology, all of these things. And then I would bring it to the classroom. And I would always ask the kids, because, we do teach like sixth graders. And I know they're talking about teaching kindergartners. I'm freaking out about sixth graders. I would go through the back door, and I would sit, because in the beginning, I would separate boys from girls and the grade levels, right? Because it's just they feel more comfortable. Girls want to be with the boys, but guys want to be with guys talking about this stuff. And they would forget I'm old. They would forget I'm white. They would forget I'm a woman. And they would be so real with me. I just loved it. And I always would call the boys sir, even though they're only sixth grade. So I'd say, okay, gentlemen, we're going to talk a little bit about porn in our class too. How many of you have friends who look at porn? Which to me, I'm asking, do you look at porn? 85% of those little bitty boys, their hands would be going up and they're all pointing at each other. And this is a problem because pornography is as addictive as crack cocaine. And do you want your son or daughter to be having sex with somebody who's been addicted to porn most of their life, So I found that they were highly sexually active because of peer pressure, not because of raging hormones. We still have raging hormones. It's because they are, if they're not sexually active and now even doing drugs, they say, what's wrong with you? So we teach refusal skills. Nothing wrong with me. What's wrong with you? Why do you have to explain why you're doing your homework? You're trying to get good grades. You're going someplace in your life. You're careful who your friends are. Why do you have to explain? Let them explain why they're making unhealthy dead end choices. But even kids will say, if you don't go, do what I want to do, I'm not going to be your friend anymore. That's like a death sentence. We teach young kids, stand on your own 2 feet. Then you'll attract other people who think like you do. But if you hanging out with bums, I mean, anal sex has become a means of birth control.
Mm.
They say, I hit it from the back. So we have to teach them that's an exit, not an entrance. It's biologically not good for that. I talked to my own personal doctor, then 2 others, and I says, can a girl get pregnant if the guy puts his penis in and pulls it out before he ejaculates? He says, yes. And not only that, because I ask all the different scenarios, right? He'll say, Linda, if the penis is touching the vagina, it's going in the vagina. And if it's just touching the outside of the vagina, kids need to know this. They have no self-control, let alone an adult. They think they can stand on the edge of the cliff and look over, but they're just little children. And then when the girl gets pregnant, they go, it's not mine, she's a hoe. So it's really very sad. And the boys, I had this boy, white do-rag, white t-shirt, which means he's not gang related, right? 16-year-old stood up in my class and said, yo, Miss Linda, you mean I don't have to have sex? And I said, no, sir, you don't have to have sex. I had another one, very handsome Latino guy, very buff, helping me with my equipment to the next classroom. He says, Miss Linda, I'm still a virgin. I said, dog, you got to be proud of that. He says, not in this school. So doing the right things, getting good grades. I had a boy saying, I can't take my homework home. I can't take my backpack. I'll get jumped by the other kids. They'll get angry with me. Why are you doing your homework? You're making us look bad. So they're holding people down. We have uncles that will say, time for you to man up. I had this little bitty 13, not even 13, he was 12, cornrows, cute as a button, little guy. Miss Linda, oh yeah, he was 11. He says, I turned 11 yesterday and my uncle gave me a whole handful of condoms. He says, time for you to be a man, and then walked away. Nothing about respecting people, respecting yourself. And this Jersey City, where I started, had the highest rate of HIV per capita in all of America.
Hmm.
It wasn't New York or San Francisco or LA. It was Jersey City. So you can see why I get so pumped up with this, because I feel like we're throwing a life preserver. And I'll even do evaluations. This is the clincher. I did evaluations because I go, I feel like such a loser. What did they really think about the program, you know? And so the day before my last one, I'll say, tell me 3 things you learned or you thought was interesting or you understand better. I had one boy say, yo, Miss Linda, you're ruining my sex life. Get out of town. I said, thank you so much. And then, but
Work.
he's the only one. Everybody else said, Miss Linda, you saved me. You know, I was worried about this. I was going to give up my virginity to this person after school today. I had a girl, and believe I'm a reporter, so in that if somebody's going to do self-harm or harm to somebody else, I tell the guidance counselors right away. And she said, I wanted to kill myself. Tomorrow after school, I was going to kill myself. I just can't take it anymore. But now I'm so happy, you know? And she only had a few presentations, 2 or 3. And I'm thinking, how many other people? I always talk about sex wherever I go. So I tell adults, please be careful when you're talking to me. And I was in the college, Bergen Community College, waiting for the elevator, started talking about porn and everything. This guy I've never met in my life got this far from my face. He says, Miss Linda, I've been trying to stop looking at porn forever and I can't stop. I really need help. Like, you know, the guy's like 23, 24, you know, but yeah, it's amazing.
So, this fascinates me because, especially in today's time and back then as well, you have a lot of our youth who come from single parent families. Maybe they never came from marriage, and they don't know what a healthy relationship is, and there's a pattern there. How could they be interested? Are they interested in hearing about, how to save themselves from marriage and a healthy relationship?
I have so many stories. I find the majority of single mothers who are very young still are adamant about their boys. Like I had this one woman, she says, I was doing my son's laundry the other day. I told him no messing around. He's 12 years old at the academy. I do his laundry and all these condoms come out of his pocket. I was ready to rip him a new one. And then she said, but when I jumped on him when he came home from school, goes, yo, mom, chillax, chillax. The boys are making fun of me because they think I'm not having sex. So they're asking what's wrong. So when they say, yo, dude, did you score? Did you tap that? I just take out my condom, say, I'm good, I'm good. And now everybody leaves me alone. But isn't it kind of sad? They want to beat him up because he's not having sex, So what I find is it's amazing, of course, we used to call this abstinence, and it's almost like a dirty word. Abstinence. Oh, you can't do this. You can't. No, you got the whole world at your feet now because you're clear about your goals. You're clear when you go out. You make it clear with somebody. I asked this one guy, okay, I'll tell you about my own family. My oldest daughter, I didn't know if she's still a virgin or not. And she sits down with me, 25 years old, paid her own way through college, babysat her way through college, okay? Graphic design. She says, Mom, I found a guy that I went to college with before, and he doesn't mind I'm still a virgin. I says, he's probably doing the happy white boy dance. What do you mean? So then he and I met I took him out for lunch, and he's like sweating, right? And I says, Bill, I see that my daughter really loves you. I assume this is heading towards marriage. But she said she's still a virgin. Is that a problem with you? He says, no, honestly speaking, I think it's really good for our relationship. Now he's a secondary virgin if he wants to keep her. And he says, because we talk a lot. We really talk a lot about our past and about goals. You can call it table topic conversations. And their relationship is more romantic, more sensuous, more happy. They problem solve together. They have 2 gorgeous daughters. So it's those types of things. In the hood, there's just a big expectation and a push to being thugged out and everything like that. That's why I would always start my classes playing rap music, Tales of a Hustler, I'd quote Nas. He says, if you can't be used, you're useless, So the kids would love it because we'd even dance a little bit, do a little Superman, and, It's just fun, having fun. I'm never trying to be cool, just corny but they love it because of the music. We'll do the bachata with my Latinas, and just making being good fun, not like you're missing out. You're gaining a lot. So yes, and teachers also were only talking about condoms. And when they saw the response from the kids, because I would type up every response exactly what the kids said, because I couldn't get back in the schools. There were so many kids. But when they saw the responses of the kids, they would be booking me in May for the following October, because if they didn't book me 6 months in advance, I was booked up for the year.
Well, you know what it is? You're breaking the mold. The assumption was these kids are having sex no matter what, so let them be safe. And that put a lot of pressure, and unnecessarily stressing them out, because physically and mentally they are not ready to take on these
No.
types. I mean, we know
Yeah.
people in their 20s and 30s who are having
Yeah.
problems trying to have normal relationships because
Yeah.
lacking.
And I was trained by the children. I was trained by them. I would listen to what they say and what they ask, and I would incorporate that into how I framed the message, because if it's not relevant to them, it's a waste. So yes, it's such an expected norm. They're so worried about the kids. Oh, if they don't start having sex soon, whatever. I'd had a 7th grade girl. Miss Linda, you don't understand. If I have a baby now, I'll have WIC, I'll have SNAP, I'll have this, things I hadn't even heard about. I says, well, I know who your mother is. Does she know about your life goals? Because I said, who's going to take care of the baby at night so you can sleep? Oh, my mother. That's what mothers are for. I can have babysitting in high school. And then she says, no, my mama would kill me. I says, well, I got your mom on speed dial. So I says, I think you better talk to her. Do you have the right to throw away your mother's goals and dreams? And also I wanted to interject, it was so common. The guys always said they were told by the older guys, look for the girls with daddy issues, meaning they don't have a daddy or they have a bad daddy. Usually they don't have a bad daddy. They got live-in boyfriends going to and from, sexually abusing them, etc. And so the guys learn how to be a predator at a young age, how to lie and sneak around. That's their whole thing, is lying. And I tell them, if you got to lie and sneak around at any age to do what you want to do, what should that tell you about that behavior? So the kids who are already doing good are sitting up straight. The kids who are thinking, you can see they're having an epiphany, so they can make their own choices. We're giving them the tools, the knowledge, the understanding, how they can incorporate this into their own lives. And it doesn't matter what their gender identification is or anything else. The gays, the trans are all hugging and kissing me. It's just amazing. They invite me into their lives and they tell me all this stuff. There's even a game where they try to turn out people, just as a game, and it's just, it's sad for children, because later they want to be in a monogamous relationship and they just don't know how to get there.
So let me ask you, Linda. I'm sure, you hear the state of affairs today with what's going on nationally and statewide with our schools. And, there's a push to kind of inappropriately age and appropriately sexualize the kids, because some feel that they need to be educated, and kind of like the condoms, right? We're passing around condoms a few years ago. Now we're passing about books with sexual pictures. So what do you think is the state of the classroom today as far as, sexual education? And do you feel that, because it sounds like to me that's an easy answer, that your curriculum is relevant today more than ever?
It is timeless. It's ageless. I teach anybody that has a pulse. I did senior citizens homes. I've done they want me to come speak to 3rd and 4th grades. I said, I got to speak to the parents, but tell me again something that you were asking before that.
What I really want to know is this: is there any benefit of having a child learn about sex and be introduced to sex? What is there a benefit to it?
There's a huge issue. First of all, when you're introducing that at a young age, even 4 and 5, even the smallest thing, cartoons that adults wouldn't think are sexual, they're sexual to the child. I remember them in the 50s. then you have feelings here. We have a sexualized culture where instead of feeling things here, we feel here. So all behavior begins with a thought. So then if they're having feelings there, they rub themselves or masturbate, all these different types of things. Then they want to act out with another person. So it sexually stimulates them. As far as sexual dysmorphia, I'm sorry, everybody, it is a fact. Take any psychology 101. Kids don't know who they are as a person. They don't know what sex is, but you want to initiate them into this way of thinking. Our kids can't read. They can't write. They're taking cursive out. Now in Oregon, they don't want any math or arithmetic, any writing, any reading to pass high school. Who's going to hire them? So yes, it's a huge issue. Then you have the porn. Kids are so curious because kids are talking about, well, I got to look at porn so I know what they're talking about. Or their friends say, oh, you got to look at this ish. This is something, Pornography is as addictive as crack cocaine. That means if you have a certain proclivity, one look and it can be a problem. Then if you masturbate, those images, that's what sexually stimulates you. So then as an adult, you could be deeply in love, but you can't even get aroused unless you think of those sexual images. Then, of course, you're dissatisfied with your partner. It's a whole big ball of wax. So with children, I want to ask, how old do you have to be to go to a porn movie? If I go to a theater and I bring my little 5-year-old, are they going to let me go to a XXX movie? No. Can they buy this stuff? No. Go on the internet. You say you're 18 years old, you got to check this box. Why? Because it has to do with brain development. My child, she's got hands, she's got a brain. She can get something to sit up. Mommy, I want to drive the car. She's ready. I should just let her drive the car. Who cares if she's 7 years old, So the brain goes in stages of development. And I don't know why people are getting away with not acknowledging this, because in the education system, everything is about what they're capable of or what they should be capable of. And they're not supposed to be having sex. And if you get them to only think this way, of course they act out. Then they're on the playground messing around because they have those feelings. They don't know about rules and boundaries and appropriateness. So they're going to abuse your child to get off. So it's really, it just, why? If it made kids happier and they became more productive, happy, committed adults, I shut my mouth. I go join them.
So Linda, where can people go for more information? I mean, as a parent, I want to be able to have the best tools available for my kids. Where can someone go to get
Well, the LoveSmarts.org is really chock full of information. You even got a little Zoom thing that I did. We were trying to do things online because the kids weren't allowed in classes because of COVID. And I was so desperate to get in the classes. So we got that. And there's articles. There's a lot of things. I think even if somebody wanted to write a letter to me at lovesmarts.org, Dr. Panzer, he's the executive director and founder, he would send it to me, And like I said, I've been in all these different countries and people are the same everywhere. And they're not happy, and those kind of things. And there's with Dr. Panzer's LoveSmarts.org website, there's a lot of resources, healthy, well-established, valid resources. You always have to be careful what, I told my friend, if you give me this information and data, honestly, I can't use it. I got to see, where does it come from, and then do my own research. Because if it's coming out of my mouth, I have to be broad and deep, and I'm a product of the product. I am a product. At one time, I was really not being a good wife. I was not cheating, but dang, I sure wanted to. And I had plenty of opportunities. And finally, I says, well, what if the whole world wanted to do what I wanted to do? And that snapped me out of it. But look, I'm an adult. I know these things. I know about HPV, STDs, skin-to-skin contact. And I struggled with those things too. So it really helps. And staying away from abusive behaviors. Early dating, just break your heart. sexual relationships, you get human papillomavirus. It's skin to skin. Condoms, almost zero protection. The leading cause of cervical cancer, probably anal cancer too. And then we had HIV. HIV is still around. You know, and it's because of multiple partners. If you go to the CDC, it says the ways to avoid HIV and AIDS. Number one is abstinence, but nobody wants to say that word. Then it's talking about monogamy, a committed relationship, getting tested regularly. What's the fourth one? Therefore, the least effective, wear a condom every single time you have sex. And again, no emotional protection. So lovesmarts.org is amazing. If I can ever be of help to people, I
Well,
love it.
I just want to say you're amazing. You are a true teacher, you know, and an example for others, because many times you find teachers, what they do is they toe the line, right, with the curriculum. And certainly I think you're a teacher with your brain and your heart, and that makes you human and very approachable by everyone, regardless of race, regardless of
Yeah.
sexuality or preference.
Of
And
personal experiences.
no matter how old you are, you learn something.
Mhm.
And I hope that people will go to your website, to lovesmarts.org, learn, and please ask the questions. You know, we need to educate each other, not just our children, because guess what? Our children can know a lot of things. If they go out there, nobody else is agreeing with them, it's going to be a hard time. And get involved in your schools, parents, get involved to know what's going on and become the part of the process and part of the solution, and not feed into the problem. Thank you so much, Linda. We really appreciate you.
I thank you and everybody who's listening. You have a great day.
You too. Bye.